Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to be making an updated Paragon priority tier list, keeping in mind the changes which are currently live on the Vietnam server. Of course, things could still change by the time they come out on global, but this is something that we have to consider when we're talking about Paragon upgrades. Okay, now the general rule of thumb is you want to upgrade ideally damage dealers who are really dominant in PvP. But now with the inspiration and intimidation as well, you want to upgrade basically even sometimes the supports or the tanks who are used a lot in your PvP comps, whether it be regular arena or supreme arena. Okay, we're going to be doing it in alphabetical order. We have Elsa number 1. So Elsa is not a great hero in PvP. To be honest, she's fine, and she was mainly better in the Waves of Intrigue season because of the Mauler buff tiles. Otherwise, she doesn't see as much use. So I'm gonna put her for right now in the I'm gonna put her in the A tier, but I might move her down to the B tier. Basically, she's a hero which is not so essential for you to Paragon upgrade. Yeah. Okay, moving on to Arden. Arden is a good damage dealer for PvP. In the upcoming season with the Wilder buff tiles, he is going to be a strong option because the Wilder buff tiles are going to be one of the strongest ones in the Chains of Eternity season. He's good in the Iron control team, like nuke team, and that can be tried to be used in PvP as well. There are issues with it because if the enemy can be unaffected, then he doesn't get as much value. But I'm going to put him in the S tier. Also, he's an A-level hero, and you can buy him from the Dream Realm store. So he's going to be a hero that you will be kind of more easily able to get to Paragon upgrade. And that is also important. Like when you try to unlock the next Paragon tiers, you will have to upgrade, I think, 20 heroes to Paragon 1. Before you can unlock the future tiers, and so you're going to need a lot of heroes upgraded to that point, and Arden is a good option. So I'm going to put him in the S tier, not a top tier option, but still a good option. Burial, I'm going to put in the A tier. Of course, all Hypogean Celestials can be good when you Paragon upgrade them, but honestly speaking, Burial is one of the most underwhelming Hypogean Celestial heroes in the game right now. Like the most passable, the least relevant. So of course he can be good if you Paragon upgrade him, but he is like one of the lowest priorities onto your account, and most people will not be able to basically afford even building Burial to Supreme Plus, let alone Paragon upgrading him. Antandra. Now Antandra is a tank. I'm going to put her in the B tier for right now. She's a pretty good tank. However, like the thing is, Mauler tiles are not going to be, like, she was maybe better because of the Waves of Intrigue season. Basically, all Maulers were better in that season. But when we talk about long term, she's just kind of an average sort of tanking hero. Not doing anything too special, and also the fact is that tanks are not the most value for you to upgrade to Paragon because they don't benefit at all from the damage boost. But now with the inspiration intimidation stats, they have a little bit more like value of upgrading. Atalanta I'm going to put in the C tier because Atalanta is not a hero like very good right now. We'll have to wait and see when she gets her level 2 skill upgrade for a Supreme Plus. Maybe things could change. But also she's an S level hero. She's competing with a lot of different heroes that you would want a Paragon upgrade. And so I would not recommend her. As of right now, I have not seen anyone use Atalanta effectively in PvP. So I would just not recommend it. CC I'm going to put in the B tier. She's not a great PvP hero. However, you can use her. This upcoming season, Graveborn faction talents do look pretty good. And CC is not a terrible option in PvP. She's just not a top tier option. And so probably not a good idea to Paragon upgrade her, but not a terrible choice either. Brutus I'm going to put in the A tier because, again, he's a tank. He doesn't benefit that much from the damage boost rivalry stat. But now you do use him in a lot of key top level PvP teams, because he just has that invincibility to dying, and then also it can be a longer duration of that invincibility after you get his charms to give him more skill power. So Brutus is a good like meta PvP hero, and so even though he's a tank, I will put him in the A tier of upgrading like priority. Carolina I'm going to put in the A tier. Carolina's fine in PvP. She has fallen off, kind of, especially in the Waves of Intrigue season where the crowd control nuking teams were just not very effective. But now with the Graveborn faction talents looking pretty good in the Chains of Eternity season, I think she can see some use, and I think she's definitely a higher priority than Cecia to upgrade to Paragon, but still not a top tier priority. Bonnie is going to be our first S plus tier hero to upgrade to Paragon. It's going to give her the damage boost, and right now Bonnie Bonnie is very relevant in regular arena, offense and defense. She provides such a valuable debuff onto the opponents, and also high damage per second that can compete with even the top, like, max out Paragon for like Hypergene Celestials like Taylene. So Bonnie is really solid, very good, strong hero, very good for PvP. And I'm sure this season she's also going to be great. So very good hero to upgrade to Paragon. It will be a Paragon priority from the season store when she is going to be purchasable from there, but until then you should definitely be keeping her on your wish list. Brian, I'm going to move into the B tier. He's not a very relevant PvP hero, not a top tier hero. I consider him around the C tier level. Just basically the heroes S and S plus, those are kind of the top tier priorities to Paragon upgrade. The other heroes A and below are passable, and A is like, I mean, depending on how much you use them, that is when you would maybe consider upgrading them. The B and below, basically, you never want to upgrade unless you're overflowing with resources. Damien. I'm going to put Damien in the S tier now. Now, normally he would not be there. He would be in the A tier. But because of now the Inspiration Intimidation stats, and Damien is a pretty strong hero for PvP, regular arena, Supreme Arena, good healing, good haste buff, and the most important fact is that he is never actually removed from the field. He can keep respawning himself. So Damien is a very strong PvP hero, and for that reason, he is going to be a Paragon upgrade. The damage boost will not help him as much. The other rivalry stats don't help him that much, but the Inspiration Intimidation are going to help your entire team and help himself, because that is going to increase the value of his haste buff, for example, onto your allies. And he's also an A-level hero, so he's another hero that you'll want to get to Paragon upgrades. Diurnal is going to be an S plus tier for Paragon upgrades, of course. He's one of the he's basically, when you think of a hyper carry, Diurnal is the top hyper carry in the game right now. That is also worrying because hyper carriers are easy to power creep, with future hyper carriers being even stronger. But for right now, Diurnal still sits on that throne, and if you Paragon upgrade him, he's going to get not only providing the Inspiration Intimidation to your team, but that damage boost, that energy generation bonuses, all of these are really good for him. And so Diurnal is really good. And also the whole Diurnal comp is going to really want that inspiration, because that's going to increase the value of the buffs on Diurnal, and Diurnal stacks buffs onto himself like no other hero in the game. So he's really important. Cassidy I'm going to put in the B tier. Honestly, she could even be in the C tier. Basically, Cassidy is not a relevant PvP hero, not a priority for you to Paragon upgrade. Yeah. Iron, I'm going to move in the A tier. The thing is, Iron, in my opinion, used to be in the S tier and above for Paragon upgrades. The problem is now is that Iron is just not that meta anymore. For regular arena, no one really uses him unless you're limited on options. And for Supreme Arena, we'll have to wait and see for the Chains of Eternity season. But in Waves of Intrigue, he was very underused. So Iron is fine. You could even potentially bump him up to the S tier. Again, that's what I said. For the A tier, the heroes which you use more, they can be a priority for you to, like, you can consider them S tier and above. But basically, this is about how much do you use them, and then you consider the Paragon upgrade for the A tier heroes. Faye is going to be C tier. She's a support, and she's not really relevant in PvP. She cannot compete with any of the other PvP heroes. Floribel, I'm going to put in the A tier. I don't actually consider Floribel the strongest PvP hero, but she's not bad. She's well-rounded, a fine hero. Because Wilder faction talents are going to be good this season, Chains of Eternity, then she's going to be even better to provide that for your team. And yeah, she's just an all-around kind of solid hero, belonging in the A tier. Granny, I'm going to put in the B tier. Granny is the tank, but the thing is, Granny is not going to really be used in many of your teams unless you're limited on a lot of other options, because there are a lot of good tanks, mainly Festo, Thorin, Brutus, which are all better than Granny. So Granny is going to be in the B tier. Dunlinger is a problem. Like, this is the thing. I'm going to put him in the A tier. Also, by the way, I haven't actually arranged it in terms of which one is the top of the A tier and bottom. I've kind of put them randomly. But Dunlinger is going to be a priority to upgrade. But the thing is, at Supreme Plus, he gets a lot of his value. The other thing is Hypergene Celestial heroes. Now they gain less Intimidation, Inspiration, and even a damage boost and damage reduction on their level ups of Paragon Ascension, because they've been redistributed to even have some rivalry stats at the base Supreme Plus. So Dunlinger is not a priority to upgrade. It's just like, if you want to max out the value of your Dunlinger Diurnal comp and get as much inspiration from him as possible, then you would want to Paragon upgrade him. But I'm not going to move Dunlinger in the S tier just for that. Like, this is, again, how much do you use him? Do you really want to, like, cap out the potential of that team? Then you can upgrade Dunlinger. Haywin. Haywin, I'm also going to put in the A tier. The thing is with Haywin, I do not consider her a top tier support. She has the issue that she is easy to nuke. Maybe if you have Paragon Ascension over the opponent, then they're not going to be able to kill you, Haywin. But she always had that issue. Maybe with the Inspiration Intimidation, it'll be easier for her to survive. Also, the charms this season are going to be really good for her. The Chains of Eternity charms are going to give her invincibility at 30% or less health. And so that is going to prevent her from dying. So Haywin is going to be really good this season, especially with the Wilder buff tiles. So you could even consider moving her in the S tier. But generally, I don't know. We can have her in the S tier. I guess we'll have her in the S tier. It also boosts her energy generation, and the inspiration will increase the value of her, like all the buffs, her damage reduction, I'm assuming, and even the health recovery amount for Haywin. So you can keep her in the S tier, but honestly, she is also A tier. She's between A and S tier, basically. Coco, I'm going to put in the S tier. Really good support, even though Maulers are not going to be the strongest this season. They're still going to be good, and you can run Coco in other teams as well. And in regular arena, Coco is not a bad option either. She doesn't get value from the damage boost because she's a support, but the Inspiration Intimidation will help you. And it should even increase the amount of damage reduction she provides for her allies. Looking at Corrin, Corrin is not a great PvP hero. I'm going to put him in the B tier. You could use him, for example, if you're limited on options, and that's why he's in the B tier, but not a top priority to upgrade to Paragon. Kruger, I'm going to also put Kruger in the B tier. Kruger is not really good for PvP. He has some Dream Realm usages, and that's why I kind of think the Paragon upgrade for stats can be good, but he can be used in PvP. Like as a tank, he is sometimes not a bad option. I'm even running him on my current Supreme Arena defense with the Tassi Stall team, basically, and so Kruger is not bad. Leica is going to be a hero. Again, it will depend on how much you use her. I'm going to put in the B tier for right now. She is good with the Dunlinger Demo comp. That is basically it. But then the thing is, if you want to max out the potential of that team, you want to have all your heroes on that team with maximum Paragon Ascension, because it's going to give your whole team more inspiration and intimidation. So if you use Leica a lot, then she would be above the B tier. If you hardly use Leica, then she is not a priority to Paragon Ascent. So that's why I'm going to keep her in the B tier. I don't even think she belongs in the A tier. Igor is a hero, he's used sometimes in Stroll teams, but he's just never the best option. I can put him in the B tier because, again, if you really use him a lot, you can consider it, but I would not really recommend upgrading Igor to Paragon. Kafra is a C tier. He's not good, and also the sad thing is that he's not even getting an enhancement to his Supreme Plus ability like the other heroes. Hodgkin, a B tier. Hodgkin is just an underwhelming hero, not a great hero to upgrade. He's just not that good in PvP, so B tier for him. Ludovic is going to be S tier. And Ludovic is really making, kind of making a statement, but also this Inspiration Intimidation are going to make him even better. Because it's going to increase the effectiveness of his heals, which already were through the roof. And it's going to give him more, basically, survivability, more tankiness. And Ludovic is amazing because he heals from second one of the match. And if you have a grouped up allied team, he can get so much value. Like, that is really the value from Ludovic. The problem with Ludovic is he doesn't have as much, like, survivability as Damien, for example. He doesn't have the damage reduction that Haywin has. But they're all really good supports, and they're good for PvP. And now with Inspiration Intimidation, they're even more of a priority to upgrade to Paragon. Harak, of course, you guys know where Harak should go. S plus tier for sure for Paragon upgrades. One of the most important heroes to upgrade to Paragon, because just like Daniel, he's a hyper carry bruise, but he's a bruiser type. And the more everything you can get for him, stats, Paragon Ascensions, the crazier he will become. And he can solo teams on his own. You just have to keep him alive enough to get 1 or 2 kills, and it's game over. So Harak is a top tier hero to be upgrading to Paragon. Lily May as well, top tier hero to upgrade to Paragon. Very relevant in regular arena and also Supreme Arena. As time goes on, Lily May will become less and less relevant. She will be somewhat power crept. That is kind of the thing. Like, even right now, if you look at some of the top defenses in regular arena, they're not even using Lily May. They're using like Bonnie, Harak, Friesto, Taylene combos in order to kill, like basically set up kills, debuff the enemies, and have Harak solo them. So Lily May is getting a little bit phased out, but still, she's a great option if you don't have all the top tier heroes built. And she's always going to be good for Supreme Arena because she is a really strong PvP hero. But the thing is, we're just getting more and more strong PvP heroes. But she's a really top priority to upgrade to Paragon. Lucius B tier. Like, I don't know where you would use Lucius. Lightbearer is also a weak faction. But yeah, you can keep him in the B tier. Hugin. Hugin, I don't know about Hugin, honestly. I'm going to put him in the A tier because I am a fan of Hugin. I think he's cool. He has issues with his own survivability. That's a major problem. And then also the other problem is that, of course, he's not going to benefit from damage boost. He's not used in that many team comps. He's not like a top tier support. If you look at the other heroes we have in the S tier for supports, they're all better than Hugin. Like, overall better. Hugin can work in some certain teams, and I think in the future, if you have like crazy stationary damage dealers, then Hugin is going to become even better. But the problem with Hugin is all it takes is the enemy to displace your heroes with any either faction talent or Iron immobilization, and they're off the mechanized bond for good, basically. And that's really problematic. Like, he loses, the hero will lose his major buff from the Hugin. Lumont, B tier, not a great hero to ascend. He's fine, he has crowd control, he has knockups, but he's a tank, he's not using that many PvP teams, so yeah. Lenya is going to be in the S plus tier. She's a damage dealer. She's really good. And now with this season, with the Wilders being strong, I'm sure she's going to see a lot of use. Lenya is a really solid PvP hero. And so, yeah, it's still, even after the Inspiration Intimidation changes, it still is the fact that your damage dealers are still the top priority to upgrade to Paragon because they get the damage boost, which is really valuable for them. Merrily is not a priority. I'm going to keep her in B tier with Corrin because, like, for Dream Realm stats, that's basically it. And another A-level hero that you can easily ascend to Paragon. But that is basically it. Luca is not a great hero. I mean, you could use him as a tank. I'm going to keep him in the B tier. I don't think he's as irrelevant as the other C tier heroes. But he's just not a great option, not a top tier option. Mikola, honestly, I'm just not a fan of Paragon upgrading her anymore. Even the stats for Dream Realm don't even help her that much because her damage output is low in most Dream Realm fights, and she gets devoured by Harak all the time anyway. I'm just gonna put Mikola in the B tier. Like, the thing is, you might think, oh, actually, I should put her in the A tier. I need to put her in the A tier, because for some PvP comps, she's a good option, and then having Paragon Ascension is nice, but really, she's really passable on Paragon upgrading. Same with Hugin. Basically, a lot of heroes in the A tier, they're not that important to Paragon upgrade. It just comes down to how much you value them, how much you use them, and then you can decide. Muriel, I'm going to put in the B tier for now because she did get the upgrade to her Supreme Plus skill, and that is looking pretty good. But honestly speaking, I do not think she's actually going to be a meta PvP hero even after that change. Nara, B tier, because Nara is not a great, just like Hodgkin, Nara, the kind of heroes which are very, very passable in PvP, not great options, and in top teams, no one is basically using them. Nero, we can put in the B tier if you want to use him in a Graveborn type comp. Not terrible, but again, he's just not a very well used hero. Odie, I'm going to put in the S tier. Or, the thing is, okay, it really depends on the faction talents, because in regular arena, no one, like, top tier players are not going to be using Odie anymore. But for like lower budget, like lower spender players, Odie can still be a good option. But even eventually, you're going to reach a point where you're not running him on defense, and you're really hard to run him on offense. In Supreme Arena, he has more use, but it does depend a lot on the faction talents which are available to him. But I think you can probably always find a way to make Odie work. So I think he is still a top tier priority to upgrade to Paragon. I would consider him a higher priority than Arden, but you could even keep him in the S tier. Basically, he's not a really firm S plus tier hero in my opinion. Parissa is a hero which, it depends honestly how much you use her. You could even Paragon upgrade her if you use her a lot, if you use her as a buffer for Diurnal, and also just a damage deal herself. I'm going to keep her in the A tier, but it's just kind of arbitrary. She's not a solid A tier for sure. You could also have her in the B tier. It depends if you actually use her in PvP. If you use her a lot, then she could be a good option. Freyasto, no doubt, is going to be in the S plus tier, one of the most important heroes. And the other thing I don't know, and this is what I'm assuming, him and his illusion, they are considered two different heroes at the beginning of the match, and they both have the same rivalry stats. Like, they have the damage reduction, they have the damage bonus. Like, I don't think the illusion has, for example, none of that, and the main Fresser has all of it. So I'm also assuming that him and his illusion also both have inspiration and intimidation equal to each other, and so it actually counts as two heroes for one. I'm not sure about this. This needs to be verified from the support, but like, logically speaking, that is what my assumption would be. And but either way, even if that is not the case, Freyasto is just a really dominant hero for regular arena, Supreme Arena. You're going to be using him on at least one of your Supreme Arena defenses, or you should be. And in regular arena, he is the top tank, and you need a tank for regular arena for the most part. So Freyasto is a really important hero. Rainier. Okay, Rainier, I'm just putting in the B tier. The thing is with Rainier, I don't know actually. Like I have Dunlinger and even Beryl in the A tier. I have to put Rainier in the A tier. The thing is, Rainier is not important to upgrade to Paragon. Even after these changes, I do not even recommend you take him to Supreme Plus. That's 6 copies, which is way too much just for the Supreme Plus rivalry stats. If you're a heavy spender, then of course you can take Rainier to Supreme Plus. But Paragon ascending him is just not a very valuable option. But the thing is, in the end of the day, if you're thinking about, okay, I want to max out the potential of my PvP team, and Rainier is on a lot of my PvP teams, which he will be. Rainier always has a lot of use, especially with this faction talent system, because you know exactly where the buff tiles are. Although this season it is going to be mixed up because there are some faction talents which are in different areas of the map, not just in the backside. But Rainier always has some good PvP use. So like Paragon upgrading him is not terrible, but again, it is only for heavy spenders. Otherwise, leave him at Mythic Plus. He doesn't need to be above that. Reus is B tier, just not a great hero, but like if you haven't built, you could use him. Rowan is going to be in the A tier, but honestly speaking, Rowan is just not used that much in PvP anymore, so I don't even think it's that valuable for you to be Paragon ascending him. Then we have Salazar, going to be B tier, or actually even C tier for right now. Maybe his Supreme Plus upgrade is going to be better, but actually no, I'm going to keep him in the B tier. I don't even know what the C tier is for. Basically, it's like completely unused heroes, but even there's a lot of heroes in the B tier which could be in the C tier. It's kind of just up to personal preference and it's kind of arbitrary, but basically a lot of heroes in B tier are just not priority upgrades for Paragon. Basically B and C tier are both considered. Do not take these heroes to Paragon, apart from maybe Corrin and like Leica and Merrily. Like these are the heroes which maybe are different. Okay, now we have Citrana. Citrana, I'm going to say there are some people who use her in PvP, so I can have her in the B tier. But no one uses Salazar in PvP. Come on, realistically, I've seen Nero even be used. Reese has been used. I think Muriel could have some place. But like honestly speaking, these heroes in C tier, I have never seen people use these on their Supreme Arena defenses. Okay, so Scarlett is going to be S tier. I do not consider her S plus tier anymore because of the fact that she is getting power creep. The other thing is that she's kind of, for the first bit of the battle, I feel like the shielding is nice, but this is not enough supportive factor. Like, because it's only shielding on one of your allies, so it can also cause that your team to die early because your Scarlet is in the air. When she comes down, she has the kill potential, so of course for that reason, having her upgraded to Paragon is going to be important. But I need to differentiate, because I do not think she is, for example, as high of a priority as, for example, Diurnal. Like Diurnal, Fresto, Harak, these are the heroes, the Hypogean Celestials you want to upgrade. And also the thing is, you will not be able to upgrade that many of them to the Paragon Ascension. So Scarletta, I would just leave at Supreme Plus, honestly speaking. But like, she is still important to upgrade. That's why she's still in the S tier. But she's not as important as the other ones. Seth, I'm going to put Seth in the A tier. Honestly, a pretty good PvP hero. And yeah, he is one of the more used PvP heroes that we have seen here. So I think he does belong in the A tier. And honestly speaking, I'm going to move Leica up to the A tier, just mainly for the Diurnal comp, because that is kind of her role. Corrin and Merrily are just going to be top of the B tier, because they're not good for PvP, but like, of course you can upgrade them, just to help you unlock the next Paragon stage. Like, upgrading Corrin and Merrily can be good for that. Shakir, I do consider Shakir a top tier option for Paragon upgrade, but the question is, do I consider him S plus tier or S tier? That is really kind of the difficult part. He doesn't benefit as much from the damage boost as, for example, the dedicated damage dealers in the S plus tier. However, he still is a top priority. It gives him damage reduction. He is used in a lot of top performing teams, but I think I like his place in the S tier rather than the S plus tier, in my opinion. Sylvina, it will depend on how much you use her. This season with the Graveborn faction talent, like draining massively the HP of the rearmost enemy target, having Sylvina jump onto that enemy and kill them quick could be value. But the thing is, the opponent is also going to be aware of that. They're going to have rearmost heroes like Taylene, who are just not going to be affected even if you kill them early on. So Sylvina is A tier, in my opinion. Sinbad, Honestly, Sinbad is fine. It depends where and if you use him. I'm gonna put him in the A tier because he is more relevant to PvP compared to the other heroes below in the B and C tier. Although Sinbad is just still not a great option to be running in PvP. Smokey I'm going to keep in the A tier because he isn't a great hero, but for like the diurnal comp you can still use him. The problem is he doesn't have the Mauler faction tiles. That is the issue mainly of this season. But overall he is a good hero, he's a good support, but he's not as like flexible and functional as the S tier supports that we have. So that's why I think Smokey in A tier is good. Sonya A tier, because as of right now, Sonya is not a top tier priority to Paragon upgrade because of the fact that she is not very good in PvP. She is easy to kill and then she doesn't get her value. Like, to get her value, you need her to cast her ultimate, but in a lot of fights, she's going to be dead before casting that ultimate, or the fight is already decided. So that is the issue with Sonya. If she had damage reduction from the beginning of the fight, she would be an S plus tier to Paragon. If she had even the buffs permanently, even without casting her ultimate, she would be S plus tier. But the problem is how she works. She needs to cast her ultimate, and that is a weak factor. Like, maybe with you would have to give her a faction talent basically to keep her alive in order to actually get her to cast her ultimate. But then she can be crazy. So that's kind of the issue. Like, I don't know. Like, it is arguable about Sonya's placement. It also depends how much you use her, how much of a fan of her you are. But I'm speaking like I'm being critical, and I think that Sonya does not belong above the A tier, personally. But again, A tier means that any hero that you use a lot in the A tier, these are priorities for you to Paragon upgrade. Soren, we can keep him in the A tier. He can be good in PvP, so I will keep him in the A tier. He is kind of like Sinbad and Seth for that reason. Okay, Talene. Talene is definitely S plus tier. There's no question about it. She is a top tier hero to upgrade to Paragon. She's very good in regular arena because of the fact that she can be killed. Like, she's really difficult to remove from the battlefield. And in Supreme Arena, she's great. So Talene, top tier priority to upgrade to Paragon. Tassi as well, top tier damage dealer to upgrade to Paragon. Very good for regular arena because of that stall factor and solo potential at the end, and good in Supreme Arena. So these heroes are all going to be top tier, S plus tier heroes you should upgrade to Paragon. Temesia, honestly, I'm going to say B tier. Just not very relevant in PvP, so she belongs in B tier. Thorin, Thorin I used to really be a fan of upgrading to Paragon, but now I'm going to say A tier because he is not needed anymore. Like, Freyasto is a better tank than him. For regular arena, if you have Freyasto built, you're not going to be using Thorin. For Supreme Arena, you can use Thorin occasionally. He can be in good teams. So for that reason, he's good. But I do not think he's just a top tier priority. The thing is, he also gets value from the damage boost because his damage output can be high with the damage reflect. So you could have him in the S tier. I think I'll have him in the S tier for right now, but he's really borderline S and A tier. So yeah. Okay, Almas. Almas I'm going to leave in the A tier because not bad Paragon priority, because especially with all the immobilization or knockbacks, you have a lot of heroes that do that. And as time goes on, you're going to continue to have heroes that do that. So Almas is always going to be kind of a meta hero you can use in PvP if you want to. Vala, I'm going to say A tier. The thing with Vala is she's just not super strong in PvP. She is fine, and like maybe for you if you use her a lot on all of your teams. Same with Sonya. If you use them a lot on all of your teams, you can say, okay, they actually are S tier to me. But in my opinion, overall, I do not think they are S tier or above for Paragon priority. They're not as dominant as the other heroes we have in S plus tiers. Yeah. Veiling going to be in the C tier, just not relevant. And Walker, I'll put him in the B tier, but really, realistically speaking, he's just not that great. But with his Supreme Plus upgrade, it can be fine. And Viper on B tier. Not a terrible damage deal, but nothing amazing. Nothing special. So this is my finalized Paragon priority tier list that you can follow. Let's just go through it quickly and make sure that we're pretty happy with it. For the S plus tier, I am very happy with it. Like I mentioned, Odie can be borderline S to S plus tier. Like in Waves of Intrigue season, he was hard S plus tier, but it depends a lot on his faction talents. But that being said, he is a solid damage dealer hero. I'm happy with the S plus tier. The S tier, I'm also fairly happy with the S tier. I think all of these are great heroes. They're usable in multiple teams. So like the thing with the supports, you can use them in multiple teams and you're always going to get value out of that inspiration intimidation buff. So like Paragon upgrading them is going to be valuable. For the A tier, we have the A tier is really the preference picks. You look at the A tier and you decide, okay, which heroes do I like using a lot in PvP? Those are the ones that you're going to make your priority. So for example, like for the longest time, I used Florabelle a lot in my Supreme Arena defense, so she was a priority for me, and I would say, okay, I will bump her up to the S tier for me. But personally, but it depends how much you use her. There are other people who do not use Florabelle at all, and then that is why she's kind of an A tier hero. Or if you really like your Dunling or Diona comp, you want to take a Leica up to Paragon 2, because you get the Inspiration Intimidation, and then it is value for you, so that is why she is in the A tier. Or if you're a Star-Lord and you use Soren a lot, then you can take Soren up, make him even higher priority than A tier for you, because he's a really good Supreme Arena damage dealer that you can run. So that is basically that. For the B tier and C tier, this is like kind of, in my opinion, this is unanimously agreed upon, even though it isn't. Like, I haven't done any survey or anything. But these are heroes, honestly, I can say firmly, that are not relevant in PvP. These are non-relevant PvP heroes. I'm looking through it again. I'm not finding anything that is like actually a part of any good Supreme Arena defense. So these are the heroes which are totally passable on Paragon upgrades. You do not need to Paragon upgrade any of them unless like it's easy for you to unlock the next tier. But like focus on the tier heroes A and above. Definitely focus on S and S plus tier, but the A tier you decide which are the heroes you prefer, which are the heroes you use a lot. Go for those. Like Brutus, for me, I use a lot, and I want to Paragon upgrade him. Iron, I have already Paragon upgraded him because I've tried to do that from the beginning of my time playing. So he's already at Paragon 3, for example. So that is basically it. But thanks for watching, guys. That is going to be it for this video. I'll hopefully see you guys in the next video. You can share your thoughts on this tier list in the comment section down below. If you want to talk to me more, you can join my AFK Journey Discord server. There's a link to that in the description of this video and all of my videos, and also my main channel page. And I respond a lot to those messages, so you can message me, ask me any questions you have over there. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now.